Anonymous is Professor Gavoor. I want to introduce how we will handle the rest of this course. I think it makes it much easier, and you can work now at your own pace. And so if we go to our class, and I click on it, you'll see here is something that's called Hawk's Learning. I'm going to activate that right now. I'm going to unpublish the single, I'm going to publish the single sign-on and unactivate the sync tool. The sync tool is for my use. The single sign-on is for you. So you're asking the question, what is Hawk's Learning? Well, Hawk's Learning has been sending me emails since the beginning of March, when it looked like most colleges were going to go online. And they were saying, hey, professor, we can offer you our materials for your course free of charge for the rest of the year. And they sent me enough emails that I finally piqued my interest, and I wrote them back and asked, okay, tell me. And basically, they use the OpenStax book, the first book I sent you, the free book. And I think we're going to use that the rest of the term. And we're going to use Hawk's Learning. Hawk's Learning is self-paced. We'll still have a discussion every week, which I will put up, a discussion or two. But all the content will now be done in Hawk's Learning. And for each chapter of the OpenStax Microeconomics, Principles of Microeconomics book I have assigned, there are sections in the book. Each section has a lesson. Each lesson is worth 10 points. And there's a little, you could take the lesson as often as you want, take the little evaluation or the certification at the end of each lesson as often as you like. You have to have 82% minimum to get to the next one. And then at the end of each chapter, there's a chapter review, which I made extra credit, and I don't even know how. I hate extra credit, but I made it extra credit, and I'll figure out how that works. And then there's a quiz. So each week you will have, we're probably doing 2 chapters a week. I think one week we did 1 chapter. And you work at your own pace. You read the book. I'm still going to provide lectures, because I feel like if I don't, I'm not boring you to death enough with the lectures. But the homework is going to be much more simplified. And you work at your own pace. You enter, you can see if you got the right answers or not. The quizzes, you can take an unlimited number of times. I'm sorry, I said that exactly wrong. The lessons from the textbook, each section of the textbook, you can take an unlimited number of times. If you have to get 100, you can keep taking them until you get hundreds. The quizzes, however, I'm limiting them to 2 tries. I believe the quizzes are worth more than the homework, each of the individual lessons. Each individual chapter lesson is worth 10 points, and I believe each quiz is worth 15. And if the numbers aren't showing up, you take it on the Hawk's landing page, you do your work there, but the grades get transmitted right to Canvas instantaneously when you do it, and get changed if you do it a second attempt, or for the lessons, unlimited attempts. So I think it's a pretty good option we have here. If they were to charge, it would be $40 per student, but we're not paying anything for it this time. And even at $40, if I was to use this next time I teach the class, it still seems like a bargain for an online class to be able to do it this way. So like I said, this is either going to simplify things or you're going to hate me. So how do you register for this? Well, you go here. Here's the landing page for our course, and you go to Hawk's Single Sign-On. And you see a page that looks like this. Anything that looks like you can click on will immediately register you for the class. That's all you have to do. And I would click on View Course. How's that for a good place to start? Okay. So View Course. And here's your to-do list right there. By doing this, you'll be registered for the course immediately. And here's our lessons, if you want to look at them. And here's the web tests or quizzes. You can do practice web tests, or you could just do the web tests when you're ready. I would recommend doing the lessons first. So if we go to your to-do list, what we have in chapters 4 and 6 in the week of March 30th through April 5th. So these are all due, but then it says due April 5th, but I'm not making them specifically due then. That's my suggested due date. And for the quizzes, I'm giving you an extra 2 days into the following week. I think if you stick to this, you can then, and each one of these is 10 points. Each one of these lessons is 10 points. And the quiz is, I think, worth 15 points or 20 points or something. I don't know. I can't remember right now. I would stick to the suggested due dates if you can. But if for some reason you can't make the due date, don't worry about it. You can turn it in whenever. If you want to wait till the last 3 nights of class and do all of this at one time, go for it. I can't stop you. I advise against it, but it's perfectly okay with me. And that way it's really self-paced. And you can see that the various chapters of the book have, like there's 3 sections in chapter 4, 3 sections in chapter 6 that we're covering this week. Why not chapter 5, you say? Because that's on elasticity, and we already did that in the other book. I think you'll find this a little bit easier than the other book as well. And then when we go to chapter 7, you see that it's not necessarily in the right order, but it will be in the right order when you take them, when you go to the actual lessons. I would start with the first one, always. In fact, I need to probably move that up. I have to do that someplace else. I can't do it here. But there's only one chapter next week, and that has 5 sections on its own. The following week, we're doing 2 chapters, 8 and 9. We're doing perfect competition and monopolies in 1 week. Then we're doing monopolistic competitions, oligopolies, and then we're talking about corporate mergers and all of that in the next week. Then in week 9, or in module 9, I guess we're calling it here, we're doing chapters 12 and 13 in the last week of the class. Negative externalities and positive externalities. And then we're done. So let's look at one of these. Let's look at demand and supply at work in labor markets. It doesn't use the whole OpenStax book. It uses parts of it. So here's the objectives for this section. And if you look at the book, it has all this: bring it home, baby boomers come to age, blah, blah, blah. A summary of demand and supply in different markets. Well, in the goods markets, the demand is from households. They buy the goods and services, and firms supply those goods and services. In labor, the demand is the firms hire workers. The demand is for workers from the firms. And the supply is the individuals seeking jobs. So it kind of crisscrosses. The members of the household are the individuals seeking jobs, and the firms now are demanding the jobs. When we go to financial markets, individual firms and governments borrow money, and the supply comes from individuals and firms that deposit or save their money. So it's really the banking industry here provides the supply. So demand, increase in wages. You get a decrease in quantity of labor demanded. You get an increase in quantity of labor supplied. That would cause a shortage. Decrease in wages, increase in quantity of labor demanded, decrease in quantity of labor supplied. You would end up with a surplus of labor, or a surplus of jobs, and not as many people wanting them. So you can go through this whole thing. There's pictures and explanations, and basically you're reading a textbook, or you could listen to my lecture. I don't know which is more boring or which is more exciting. Maybe you do both, and it works out for you. And you keep going, and then all of a sudden it says here, on your own, complete the following table, indicate the shortage or surplus amount at each wage. Remember to print your work before leaving this page. Well, I don't know if you have to print the table. I don't need to have a printout of it myself. So quantity demanded, quantity supplied, what are you going to have? When a quantity supplied is less than a quantity demanded, you're going to have a shortage of how much? 25,000, looks like. And here you're going to have a shortage of 13,000. God, if I get this wrong, that would be really embarrassing, wouldn't it? You'd ask for a tuition reduction. And if I look for quantity demanded and supplied at 65,000, the jobs demanded are 37,000, and the amount supplied is 31, so it's still a shortage of 6,000. All of a sudden we're at equilibrium, and let's see here, now we're starting to get into surplus. The quantity supplied, the jobs offered there's going to be a $5,000 surplus, or 5,000 job surplus, and here it's going to be 9,000. I don't know if I want to print the table or not, but I go next. And then blah, blah, blah. It explains more things on your own. Department stores expect more shoppers during the Christmas shopping season. How will this affect the demand for supply clerks? Is there an example of derived demand? Why or why not? Remember to print your answer before leaving the page. I'm not sure what derived demand what we know what derived demand is. It's a supplementary demand from something else. So if the demand for Christmas gifts is high, the demand for sales clerks is going to be high in the store because they want to have more clerks to work for the customers. So here you can look at it again on your own. And if we're still in 4.1, so 4.1 is a pretty extensive section. Blah, blah, blah. You go through. And finally, we've done our practice. You go to the certification. I guess we could continue. We didn't fill out everything, but if we want to start the certification, there's 12 questions here. Which of the statement is correct? Select the best answer. In the labor market, the horizontal axis of the graph shows salary. No, the horizontal axis is quantity. At equilibrium, quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal. I'd say that's probably it. When the price of labor is below the equilibrium, economic incentives tend to drive it even lower. No, the economic incentives would tend to drive it even higher. So let's submit that answer. And then I would go on to the next question. Oh, and it said I did also. I must have gotten it right. Let's do this one wrong. Let's just submit my answer. Your answer seems incomplete. Please try again. So I go back here and now I actually read it. Given ceteris paribus assumption, consider the following factor change. And if you don't understand something like ceteris paribus, look it up in Investopedia or look it up back in the textbook that you have, the free OpenStax textbook. There is an increased demand for textiles. What effect does this factor change have on the demand and supply curves in the labor market? Choose your best answer. The supply curve for labor in the textile market will shift to the left. No, left is a negative way. The supply curve in the textile market will shift to the right. The demand curve for labor, no, that won't change the supply. Supply, remember I'm getting it backwards. Supply is not the firms in this case. Supply, the firms is demanding. So it's going to be this answer. Let's see if I did it right. Hey, I got it. Yay. And I'm going to stop here because if I make a mistake on accident or thinking I'm giving the right answer, you'll, like I said, you'll want a tuition reimbursement. So that's how this works. You go through it, you learn. If you don't like it, you get it wrong, go back and look at it again. And don't just go back and like keep guessing until you get the right answer. And we'll talk to you soon about all of this in further detail if necessary on our office hours call if people need help. So I'm leaving the page, which I'm doing. And okay, so down here, you'll see in week 3, I've not made it active. I'm going to take out most of this and replace it tonight with OpenStack's PowerPoints and lectures. And then we will have a discussion. I'll probably change that to go along with what we've done. And then I'm going to probably assign a paper, Tragedy of the Commons. So every week we'll still have a discussion, but the homeworks are gone. The homeworks will be gone. So I will probably unpublish all of this stuff and hide it. You won't see it, and this is all you'll have. I hope this helps. I hope you like this better than what we've been doing. I think this is more work at your own pace. Thank you so much.